here's what's coming up next on the Create Happy Now podcast with the return of one of my VIP guests, Lynn, the Freedom Facilitator who helps you face your fears and step into love.
The negative subconscious belief is what we have to change. And when we go out and we create experiences, we're creating new evidence. We're creating new neural pathways. We're changing that story and that script. But once we do that and we know we have support, things really start to shift and change.
Welcome to the Create Happy Now podcast, dedicated to helping you start your journey to discover true happiness. Join me, your host, Susan Blanton, weekly as we explore the transformation stories and words of wisdom from our Masters of Happiness with tips you can start applying today to create happy now. Hey, this is Susan Blanton with the Create Happy Now podcast, and I have on my show again, Lynn. She is a Freedom Facilitator. She supports people in designing experiences to help them break free from fear and step into love. I'm so happy to have you back, Rainey. We always have so much fun together. I've known Rainey for about 10 years, and she introduced me to Essence of Being about 5 years ago, and we just have always enjoyed each other, and I just love your laugh. It's very contagious. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. It has been about 10 years since we met. I think I met you right at the beginning of my journey.
Me too.
It was, right? You too, right?
We were both down and out together. So tell me a little bit about your story, or tell the listeners. I know a little bit about it, but tell the listeners about your story.
Yeah, no. I moved to Atlanta. I packed up. I'm from Florence, South Carolina. I'm from LA, grew up in South Carolina. Once I graduated, a friend of mine's like, hey, come move to Atlanta with me. I packed up my car, had $200 in my pocket, came to Atlanta. And for me, that's really when my life started. It was when, I got this great job. I got married. I had a baby. I had the house. I had the car. I built this whole life that honestly, I never even imagined that I would have. And I thought, wow, I'm living the American dream. This is great. This is fantastic. And then I lost my job. And then I found out my husband had been unfaithful and we were parting ways. And then it was just like everything that I had built up was starting to crumble around me. And I couldn't understand why. And I had no idea what to do with it. I really just didn't know what to do. And I went to this networking event one day, and this little lady named Jenny came up to me and she invited me to go to church. And I'll never forget, me and my husband at the time got into a fight, and he goes, okay, well, now that we're splitting up, he's like, your friends don't want to be your friends anymore. What are you going to do now? And I'm like, I'm going to go to church. That's it. And I literally called up Jenny, like random girl. Hey, can I come to church with you? And she invited me, and I went to Unity North Atlanta Church. And for every Sunday for a year, she sat beside me. And I began to take all these amazing classes and workshops and, learning all these new thought movement techniques and tools and things to change my life. And I didn't even know what a workshop was before I went to Unity North. And then I got to take Essence of Being. And Essence of Being was like my total changed my life. I'm a kinesthetic learner. And so for years, I always felt like I never quite understood things as good as everybody else, at least not until I dug in and started doing it myself. And so really getting in there and having some experiential learning and doing some real deep healing emotional work was really the biggest path to my freedom. I still facilitate the workshops to this day and support the community. And, now I've stepped out to create my own work to help people with some tools that helped me really break free. Because ultimately, even after I'd done all the workshops, what was frustrating to me was I'd done all this work. I was teaching the workshops. I was fully aware of what my blocks were, what my stuff is, no secrets anymore. However,
there.
the same patterns and the same thing would keep showing up. Same story, different face, different place. And so I literally began to feel crazy for a minute. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Because I knew that it was those negative subconscious beliefs that were still driving the bus and still attracting that old stuff. But it really took me creating some of these experiences for myself and using some tools like EFT, the Young Living oils. I'm on Jack Canfield's Young Living oils team, and he has a feelings kit. So when I use these oils, when I'm really doing some of this processing work, I use the oils. I also worked with a friend of mine, Janie Lassick, who's a Marissa Peer facilitator and does hypnotherapy sessions. I did a clearing session with her, and boom, things just started to really shift. So it really reinforced for me that the negative subconscious belief is what we have to change. And when we go out and we create experiences, we're creating new evidence. We're creating new neural pathways. We're changing that story and that script. And a lot of times all we need is somebody to have our back and to support us and to be there while we take that big leap off the 33-foot diving board or, whatever it may be, whatever that feeling of fear is for you, whatever it is you need to face, make the call, go for the job interview, whatever it is. But once we do that and we know we have support, things really start to shift and change. So I just want to tag on to the work that's already out there, but just give a couple of hacks, I've spent a lot of years really trying to figure this out and really break free from fear. And in the meantime, like I said, I lost a lot of relationships and opportunities and things that I don't want people to have to lose all because they're stuck in fear. So
right. I think the first key is being aware and the intent that you have those unconscious beliefs down there. You may not know what they are, but if you start digging for them, of course, sometimes they may just surface at impromptu moments, but then you're like, oh, there you are.
Right.
So let's work on you now.
Yeah, but before that, they're blind spots, and I literally look back going, oh my gosh, how did I not see that for so many years? Like people would tell me, my mentors would be like, Rainey, I just told you that a month ago. Did you not hear me? And I'm like, no, I didn't. Because I think we have to be ready. We have to be at the space where we're ready to receive the information. We're ready to peel back that layer. And, people can talk all day long about how easy it is and think a positive thought and this, that, and the other. But if you have been through some serious traumas, if you have had years and years of repetitive behavioral training, emotional abuse, things like that, it's really hard to shift some of those negative subconscious beliefs sometimes. Sometimes we can go take the workshop or read the book or whatever, but then our life still isn't changing. And isn't that ultimately what it's all about? I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't want to watch 20 hours of content and my life doesn't change.
Well,
sometimes we need tools in the toolbox that will actually get in there and break some of that stuff up.
Well, and two, one tool that might work for me may not work for you, and one tool that worked for you may not work for me.
I'm so glad you said that. Because that's it too. It's not one size fits all. Mm-mm. And, I think ultimately we all have the same basic needs. We want to be loved. We want to be seen. We want to feel safe, but how we choose to really peel back those layers and what makes sense to us. I mean, that's why there's all these different speakers out in the world, because if one speaker could do it for all of us, then there'd be no industry. We need different perspectives. We need different stories. We need different tools. And so, I really want to be a resource. There's a lot of times that people come to me and I refer them out to other people. Like I said, I'll tell them to go take Essence of Being. Hey, I think you're in a great spot in your life to take this workshop. It really opened up for me. Or, hey, I'd really think you go see my friend Janie and do this hypnotherapy session. Like it really helped clear out that last little bit of dust and the cobwebs in there. And I was able to break through to another layer of freedom. And I think ultimately for me, it was about experiencing my freedom because I felt trapped most of my life. I felt like I kept trying to break through and do things that other people, it was easy for them and it wasn't for me, and I couldn't understand it. And I think that freedom is really about the permission to just be yourself and to tell your story and live your truth and sing your song and wear your shiny glitter fancy clothes or whatever rocks your boat, just being able to be you. And there's nothing better than that. And my dad said one time, he wrote in a card to me, fear nothing in life except for the loss of who you are. And for a long time, it took me a long time to find who I was. Mm-hmm. And now that I found her, I'm not letting go.
Right. I think we grow up with these ideals, mm-hmm. and we focus on that so much, and then you get there and you're like, well, now what? And then you're like, well, you're busy being all these roles. You're being the employee, you're being the wife or the husband or the mother or the father or whatever, all these roles. And mm-hmm. then you're like, who are you though? Who are you? Right. And I had forgot what my preference. I'd go out to dinner, didn't even know what to order because I didn't even like, okay, so what's the least expensive and, what's the good thing to eat that's, low calorie or whatever, instead of just what I wanted, what right. my soul wanted to eat.
Right.
And that's just an example of everything.
Right. It could be that from something that little all the way to picking a job or a partner. You know what I mean? It's like you pick for the wrong reasons, or you pick. I never even pre-qualified people. It was kind of like, oh, you like me, great. You picked me, you love me, great. We're boyfriend and girlfriend now. And I didn't take what I wanted or what I needed into consideration. And I think what happens a lot of times is, so recently I just changed my name. I changed it from Rainey. Most people in the world probably know me now as Rainey Suggs, which was my married name. And I was Rainey Turbeville before that. And that was, my maiden name attached to my father. Well, they tell you that when you have a lot of trauma happen when you're growing up, we lose our identity. We lose who mm-hmm. we are. And so my big movement, part of my freedom experience, is taking back my name. It's letting go of my maiden name, letting go of my married name, and getting back to the true essence of Rainey Lynn. That's who I am. That's who I was born as. That's the 7-year-old little girl who wanted to be a solid gold dancer, who was loud and funny, and just loved people and had a passion for life. And she got hidden underneath all this trauma. And I forgot who she was, and I forgot how amazing and important and valuable she is to the world. And through doing all of this work over the last decade, from going to Unity North and learning the principles, New Thought movement, to Essence of Being, to working with Waldo Waldman, $1 million speaker who talks about teamwork, trust, and collaboration, I've gotten to work with so many great mentors. And through that process, I got to find me again. So I am going to be working on a book that'll talk a little bit more about that,
right.
and introducing Rainey Lynn to the world and being all of her in her true essence. But that's ultimately my Freedom Act, So if you go visit my website, experienceyourfreedom.com, you'll see that a Freedom Act is just simply an action taken from self-love in order to break through from that fear. It can be something small on a daily basis. It can be something huge like changing our name, whatever it is for you. But once you start to take those steps, you'll start to regain part of who you are back.
Right. Just one step forward. That's all. That's all it takes,
That's right.
So tell me one of your favorite quotes.
My favorite quote, or one of my favorite quotes, is "We are the hero of our own story" by Mary McCarthy. And I remember when I heard that, it's kind of like that Dorothy clicking her heels. We had the power all along. We had no idea. But for me, I did grow up with that whole waiting for somebody to save me, waiting for the prince to come, waiting for somebody to love me enough for me to be okay to just be me. And I kept looking for this outside force to save me. And every time I kept getting let down and hurt. And because, I mean, that's a heavy burden to put on anybody. I didn't even realize that I was putting that burden on the people that I loved. And a lot of the people that I loved left because of that. They felt like it was, you know, I was looking for them to complete me, for them to be like, okay, check, you're done. You don't have to heal anymore. You're perfect just the way that you are.
I got you.
We're good. But it never happened. And then I realized that I was the one that had to give myself that permission. I had to learn how to love myself. And sometimes loving yourself is not the butterflies and fairies and the la, la, la. It's the saying no, having boundaries, choosing you.
Yes.
It is the hard stuff that really is what loving ourselves looks like. And I didn't like it at all at first. I really didn't. I'm still getting used to. It still doesn't feel good sometimes. It does at the end after you've done it and you've moved through it. But while you're setting that boundary and saying no to somebody and, you know, those kinds of things, it's challenging.
Well, if you're anything like me, I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Yep.
When you start creating those boundaries and saying no, you're just like, oh, they're going to hate me now. They're not going to like me. And they don't. Sometimes they don't, like, because they're used to me saying, okay, all right, I will, sure, no problem. And then I go, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And then they get all mad. And I have to go, you know, I'm sorry to myself. You know, you're just going to have to be okay with them because you have to do what you have to do.
There is a video, if you Google Elizabeth Gilbert, Oprah Winfrey, biggest regret. There's a 1-minute video and Oprah Winfrey has Elizabeth Gilbert on there. And I got to meet her before I went to California. She's so awesome. And she has
Oprah
no, Elizabeth Gilbert.
Okay.
And I wish.
I know.
On the bucket list. Oprah, if you're listening, let's break free, babe. Okay. But it was so funny because Elizabeth, this video, I listened to it and it literally changed my life. It was like just light bulb moment. She goes, what was your biggest regret? And Elizabeth Gilbert laughs and she goes, well, I don't think we have enough time for that. And she said, honestly, my biggest regret was not learning to tell the truth sooner. She said, I used to look into people's eyes and they would ask me something and I'd look in their eyes and I would tell them whatever it was they wanted to hear because I wanted them to like me and love me. And you know what? She said, and when I started telling them no, she said, exactly what I was afraid of happened. They stopped liking me. They didn't love me. And some of them left. But the people that could stick with me, that held in my truth with me, she said, that's the ones that made all the difference. And I remember thinking growing up, there were many times where I promised somebody something and I didn't follow through. And they were like, you're not trustworthy and you're not this. And I felt so hurt because I'm like, of course I want to be trustworthy. Of course I want to follow through. But I was just literally trying to give them what they wanted, even if it meant that I had to, you know, kill myself to try to give it to them. And sometimes I wasn't even successful then, you know, because I was more worried about what they thought of me or if they were going to stay or if they were going to love me. My little abandoned 7-year-old girl was like, don't leave, love me, take me.
But wait,
you know, but it's so freeing to just say no, I can't, and I love you, and I'm still happy for you, and I'll be glad to help you again when I can, but no, thank you.
Right, and to adopt. This is what got me the most. I think was huge for me. Is not only was it my responsibility to take that responsibility for myself to be happy, and like you said, you know, it's not anybody else's responsibility. But it's not my responsibility to make anybody else happy either. So,
amen.
Amen. I'm like, sorry. If you take that way, I'm sorry, but you know, that doesn't change my mind. But yeah, I mean, it's really that knowledge is freedom in and of itself. Because when you're trying to rearrange people and things, it's like herding kittens and it's exhausting. And you never end up being happy. You just
and here's the funny part is I went through all the personal development stuff, right? And I thought, woo, because for a while there, my work and my personal development were separate, kind of. And then I did all this personal development work, and I'm like, whew, okay, I'm going to build a business. I'm going to build a business because I have fixed myself. Fixed, I use that word loosely. I have fixed myself. I am healed. I am going to build a business. And then guess what? A whole nother layer, a whole nother Jumanji level 7. You have gone to the next level began, because
start over.
Once we, that's who we show up to the world as. It's like, then there's this whole other, who am I really? And what are my values? And how do I, stay in integrity? What does that mean to me? And, and just, for me, I'm really mission oriented, and I love to work for things that mean something in the world. I'm that just, but it's a whole nother ball game. It's a whole nother ball game. And it can be a lot of fun too. But the blocks starting to come up there in the business world too, those fears of, how are people going to look at me? What if I make a mistake? What if I fail? Oh gosh, now the whole world and my 1 million people on social media are going to see, whatever it may be. Exactly. It takes it to a whole nother level. So I really love to support people too, who are trying to build a business and really, experience that freedom personally and professionally, both areas, because they really do go hand in hand.
And experiencing those breakthroughs with them is so, they're loving those breakthroughs, but I think I'm loving it as much as they are, right?
Yeah. You're getting just as much, right? It's a mirror thing. It's like, I have found that everybody that comes to me is some version of me.
I gotta fix something in them that's in me.
Maybe they were Rainy 2008, but there's still some version of me. And it's like, for the longest time, I didn't put myself out into the world because I thought, well, I can't put myself out as a coach or a healer or facilitator until I have fixed my life. Wait, I don't have the perfect relationship yet. Wait, I don't have the perfect business yet. Oh, how am I going to help somebody else? You want to know how? Because all you have to do is be a little bit further along than somebody else, to lend them a hand and to share their knowledge and to pull them up and bring them along the journey with you. And so, I finally let go of that fear and faced that fear and started putting my stuff out in the world. And things like coming on the Create Happy Now podcast show up.
Woohoo! And we're going to do it some more too.
With my girl Susan, who I met like 10 years ago. Brought her on this journey with me too.
Oh yeah. You pulled me into Essence of Being, and
right.
that was awesome. So tell us, what is something that the listeners can enjoy from you for tuning in today? What do you have? Do you have any offers that you can give them?
Sure. Yeah. No. Again, go check out experienceyourfreedom.com. Post what your Freedom Act is. What's your Freedom Act? What's that one thing you're willing to commit to? Join the group. Post what you're willing to break free from, and then scroll down to the bottom of the page, put in your name and email address, and I will do an hour-long clarity coaching session with the people that follow up today. And we'll really dive in and get you going with some action steps so you can go ahead and start breaking free today.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Rainey. What can you tell the listeners is a happy hack that they can try today to start creating their life and create happy now? Okay.
So, during my last growth period, if you will, because they don't stop, y'all.
Right.
I found this amazing dance class. And so dancing is now my new happy hack. When I really feel like I'm feeling stuck or whatever, I turn on that music, whether I'm home or wherever, and I just dance it out. It's kind of Grey's Anatomy, me and my person dancing it out kind of thing. But there's also a lot of great dance classes out there right now that are just about movement. Movement is medicine. And I've done so much work personally, but I've ignored my body. So this year I'm really focusing on my body and loving my body, and movement helps your body and your mind. So the next time you're feeling like, I don't know how to get happy, I'm feeling stuck, turn on your favorite song, get up in the middle of your living room, move your furniture, and dance it out.
You don't have to be a good dancer and nobody's watching.
Not at all, and nobody will see you.
Do the Tom Cruise thing.
Yeah, take your pants off, run around the living room, and dance it out. There's my wise words of wisdom after 10 years on the personal road to discovery.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Rainey. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you, and I can't wait to have you back.
Thanks, Susan. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so glad that you've created Happy Now, and I will be watching and following and happy to be a part of the movement.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks for listening to episode 12 of the Create Happy Now podcast with Rainey Lynn. If you like this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review, and you can get a free meditation by yours truly by clicking the link in the episode description. On the next episode, episode 13, we are having back Bird Smith Lyons, founder of Essence of Being, where you'll get to learn how to reprogram your bubble talk and do a little bit more deep dive into her story and how she has mastered happiness.